Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of On the Rise. I am Vishal Yathish, a junior at Mission San Jose High School. What drives successful people? What does passion truly mean, and how does one find it? This is what we're going to find out together. On the Rise features top tier founders and innovators to talk about their journeys and motivations to help inspire the next generation of leaders. Today, we're joined by Alice Deng, the founder and CEO of Slope, a YC-backed fintech company that allows B2B businesses to offer buy now, pay later purchases and accept diverse payment options at checkout. Hi, Alice. Thanks again for joining us today. Let's dive right in. We'd love to hear more about you and your startup.
Yeah, no, would love to answer any questions.
So, you have explored many different roles and opportunities, from interning at top VC firms like Greylock, Free Ventures, to working as a product manager at Dropbox. How have these different experiences shaped or benefited you?
Yeah, for sure. So when I went to college, or when I was ready to go to college, I actually didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. I did a business program in high school called DECA. And so I was like, you know what? I really liked the club, so might as well just study that in college. I ended up going to Berkeley, and it's actually super surprising. I know I'm in the Bay Area, but I had not I didn't know anything about technology or tech, or like the tech or startups before even the first year of college. I think all I knew was big older companies like Oracle and like Cisco. I actually didn't know too much about up and coming things. And so when I was in college, I ended up my first summer doing like this banking internship. And it was a weird internship because the hours were pretty tough, and it was not what I was expecting in what I wanted to work on for post graduation or like the rest of my life. And so I was like, I need to rethink this. And I started exploring a lot of different other clubs that weren't like totally business related, and a lot of the emerging clubs on campus at UC Berkeley were kind of in tech. And so there's like this hackathon community where we organize large hackathons every year called CalHacks. I ended up kind of being an organizer there, and a few other tech organizations like Blueprint. We build technology for nonprofits. And so after kind of getting a sense of the things there, a friend of a friend, I think a friend introduced me to Greylock as like a summer internship. I applied, I ended up getting in. I actually had no idea what venture capital was. Like, I was like, oh, what is this? Is this like a bank? Is this a banking internship? And so I was actually very, very surprised that, an awesome firm like Greylock funds a lot of these startups, and these startups build huge, impactful billion-dollar businesses like Airbnb, Facebook, all of the above. And so actually, yeah, definitely that internship, let me saw gave me the opportunity to see that there's a lot out there that you can do that isn't just banking or consulting or accounting, things like that. I actually think back when I was in college, like not a lot of people knew about like the startup scene. And so I think because of that internship, I was like, you know what, like maybe I can also do a startup. Like, since I actually thought like a startup was like super hard. Like, it is really hard, by the way, but like I thought it was like more like a restaurant or like a pop-up shop. But when I realized that there's like these venture firms and venture capital all around that funds these startups, it's actually not as risky as you think to build your own company. And so, yeah, when I graduated, I really wanted to jump into startups. I wanted to found something, but I actually wanted to, clear out my student debt before I, did anything reckless with my career, which I think my parents are very happy about. So I spent a year at Dropbox as a product manager, and it was, only a year there. I ended up clearing all my debt, and I learned a lot there too. When you're shipping products, it's not the same as being like a founder, but it's very, very close to like being able to feel how it feels like to iterate and build cool products. And so I ended up leaving my role there. And I actually wanted to be a founder for a very long time, and I finally took the jump. And so I really thank the Greylock family for taking a chance on me and giving me the experience of how the ecosystem looks like, and made me feel very confident that I myself can do this. And also just like being involved with so many of those tech student clubs, that also gave me the confidence that there's so much out there rather than just the path that I saw when I started school.
So you actually covered, right, like jump right into my next question. So a
Yeah.
lot of students, they think that their journey ends once they get to college. They go to college, they get their dream job, but you actually left your operator role at Dropbox to start your first company, Glisten AI, which uses computer vision and natural language processing to automatically categorize and analyze e-commerce data, I believe. So how
Mhm.
did you decide to make that switch, and how did your role as an operator help with your own company?
Yeah. So I left my PM job at Dropbox to start my first company. And making the switch, like looking back, it wasn't that big of a decision because I knew I wanted to be a founder. Actually, after graduating, I took a job because I felt like I probably should have some experience before I just leap in there. Also, like my parents would have like definitely been, very, very worried about me if I just never had a job. And actually, they're still worried about me because quitting after a year back then, when no one really, I actually had no idea what I was going to work on after I quit. I quit before deciding what I was going to do. And so the decision to make the switch, it was kind of tough because number one, like you're fresh out of college still, and you still are lacking the experience, but I felt it was something I want to do for a long time, so I just did it. And how it helps is actually it's more like the people management things I've learned more than the actual like day-to-day job of being a PM. I think when you're a PM, you kind of learn a lot of how to like manage stakeholders and like how to deal with like people problems and like managing roadmap and like products, shipping and all of that. So having like learning a lot of good process at a good company like Dropbox helps a lot with setting a good cadence for how we ship things at the startups that I've been a part of. Yeah.
Another extremely amazing aspect of your story is the fact that both of your startups were accepted into YC, which is just it's mind-boggling, since I believe that YC's acceptance rate is between 1.5 and 3%, which hands down puts it beneath the world's most competitive universities. Like that acceptance rate is just like so low. So well done. But what are some of the key lessons that you learned through the whole process?
Yeah. So I did YC in winter 20. So actually like a little bit more than a year ago. So it was actually really, some founders do YC twice, but it's like a lot of years apart. But for me, like it was like pretty quick, like last year and then back at it again. And so I actually, I have one of the partners I work with now. He was one of my partners that I worked with before. And so he knew me before. And I think he's seen kind of the journey I've been on. I think there's like a few key lessons I've learned on throughout this whole process. Number one is, a lot of people, want to go through this accelerator or through YC because it like stamps something like as an approval, like, oh, once I get accepted, that means I'm a great startup. But what's actually counterintuitive is like the people that don't really care about those things are the ones that go through it. So like, um, honestly, I didn't really need to go through it a second time. And like, I knew that I wanted to, like, for me to have gone through a first company and want to do a second one, I like really want to do this, right? Like, it's really hard to be a founder and to do this, again, knowing all the hardships and pain that I've been through. I really want to do this. And so I'm going to do this regardless of YC or regardless of any venture funding. And like, I will do this. And so I think I kind of see it as I've given YC the opportunity to invest, not as in like, oh, I really, really wanted. Like, obviously being part of YC is an amazing community, and that's why I decided to do it again. But I think with the founders that go through it, a lot of them are giving, YC the opportunity to invest in them. And they're gonna do and ship things and build a company regardless. And so you need to have that mindset for you to have like an awesome company. And that's actually how you get in. And I think if I had advice to the people that are going to be in the next batch, I think it would be like really work on what you want to work on. It's really hard to be a founder. And like, I will tell you, going through the program, like we work a lot, like day in, day out, every day. And if you don't really like what you do, like you're going to burn out really quickly and you're going to get so tired and all of that, and you're not going to make it. So for you to make it, you have to like really, really love what you're working on.
Mhm. So I spoke about this in my previous episode as well. The pandemic has shifted so much about how we live, we study, and we work. We're definitely seeing a huge shift in consumer behavior with more online versus offline payments, specifically the buy now, pay later payment space, which obviously you're working in. I would love to hear your thoughts on how you envision this space to evolve in the next 5 to 10 years. Like, where do you see as the future of fintech?
Yeah, so obviously fintech's really, a big topic nowadays in the startup land, and it's a huge, huge growing industry. I think with consumer buy now, pay later, as you see, it is hot, right? There's been multi-billion-dollar exits, the Afterpay acquisition from Square, all these, BNPL plays popping up internationally, and they're all growing, and still there's room to grow. However, what we see, which is what we're building at Slope, is consumer. There's so much going on with buy now, pay later. But with business, B2B transaction, there's actually not as much, at least like right now, there's not as much. Maybe in the future, there definitely will be. But there's so much opportunity in the B2B space where actually net terms, which is this offline kind of, buy now. It's like buy now, pay later, but it's always been there this whole time. Offline is like a table stakes thing. But as businesses are moving online, it's actually very crucial to like have financing options for them. So the way we like started working on this is actually my co-founder's parents work in wholesale in Brazil. And before the pandemic, a lot of this B2B commerce was done like at these trade fairs. They would like fly into China, go to these trade fairs and like order their product for like the next year. Now they're gravitating towards ordering on these online B2B marketplaces, on these online B2B supplier sites. And we've noticed that these marketplaces don't necessarily have net terms. And so we're enabling these players to like have this financing. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, business like commerce is going to go online at a rapid pace. So consumer, you can see with Amazon and like all these online ordering platforms, D2C, like everyone, is starting to order things online. Groceries, is being delivered online, like food, everything's online. The same thing is going to happen with B2B. It's always 5 to 10 years late versus consumer. And that's when you're going to see this like mega shift in the world, because consumer is actually not a huge percentage of the world's commerce. It's business to business. And so we're very excited at Slope to be at like the forefront of this kind of, next decade transitional change, and hopefully provide a lot of financing and, capital to the businesses that need it to grow.
Mm-hmm. And you spoke earlier about the growth in the fintech sector. So the fintech sector actually has attracted a lot of VC investments, particularly recently. Q2 of this year was the largest funding quarter for fintech companies, who raised a record of $30.8 billion, I believe, according to CB Insights. How has your fundraising experience been?
Yeah, so I will tell you, it has been night and day from the last time I fundraised last year during the pandemic. So my first company, we fundraised, like demo day was when SF went into lockdown last year in March. So like the worst of the worst. And it was when, Sequoia shipped their black swan article about how like the world, like the economy is going to tank and everything. And so this time it was completely like a 180 change. Like this time we had no problem fundraising. And obviously, being in fintech, it's especially like crazier. I think the valuations are like in insane levels right now. But at the same time, it's like the market is, pricing fintech companies because they see the returns, like especially in BNPL, with Afterpay's exit and all these IPOs, like Affirm, and Klarna is doing great and they're still private. And there's massive opportunity in B2B like BNPL. And so yes, it has been night and day, and we're very blessed because we've been through fundraising at a really horrible time, and so we're very thankful, and we don't take it for granted, like all the interest that we've gotten so far. So,
and this is a little bit of a little continuation of what we were discussing about the demo day. How do you choose the right investor for your company?
Yeah, so it really depends on what you want from an investor. Some people want to be, have a bit more like, structure in how they, work with their investors. Some people, don't really want any like help or resources. They just need the capital to grow. I think we're towards that end. I think for us, we're second-time founders. Both my co-founder and I have founded a company before. And so it's more like we know what we're going to do. Like we know what we're doing. We trust our product judgment. We trust our iteration judgment. And at the end of the day, we're inviting a VC to sit on our rocket ship, right? And we know what's best for the company because we spend every single day working on it. And so we chose our investors based on kind of giving us autonomy of like what to, like, we don't really want investors that like call us every day to check in. Like there's no need for that. And just, people that really have conviction in what we're building. So all our investors, they really like are convicted, like have huge conviction on like our future, what we're working on, like the thesis that we have in building Slope. And that's all we can ask for is people that really trust and believe that we can build this, and also like they trust the team. So at such an early stage like this, right, it's really about like the people that are like behind it. Yeah, we're very lucky that all our investors mostly invest in the team, as well as like the potential of such a huge market that we're tackling. But it's really like us.
Mm-hmm. And to close this out, one final question. You talked about this a little bit before, but let's present this a little bit more formally. If you could give one piece of advice to aspiring entrepreneurs, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it's really to just take the first step, right? So I actually have a lot of friends that want to be founders, or people that always ask me like, "Hey, how'd you do it?" And it's really about taking the first step, and the first step's very scary. So Vish, you're in high school, but once you're in college and once you get a job, there's a lot of responsibilities that start to like hang on you. Like you have to like start paying bills and things like that. And when you have a job, it's really hard to turn away your salary, right? And especially my friends that work at like high, large tech companies that have like high paying salaries, like it's hard to like give it all up and have nothing, right? But it's if this is something that you all, if you want to start a company, like just take the first step and do it. And I don't think anyone that has done that really has regrets, especially because you're learning so much. And so yes, just take the first step, and it's a very scary step, but just take it.
Thank you so much, Alice, for your time. Thanks everyone for joining us. Stay tuned for my next episode. See you all soon. Bye.